The words of Christ are also spoken, read aloud in Christian churches, but one recognizes neither the reason for Christ's human incarnation nor the deeper meaning of creation in general. The churches do not captivate people in the depths of their soul in order to awaken their faith. And if one does proclaim the words of Christ in the Christian church, and if one takes to heart what Christ said, that my kingdom is not of this world, then why do you not concern yourself with this other world? Why do you speak so much about mysteries that will never be revealed? There are no mysteries that cannot be revealed. There is only one thing that cannot be clearly explained to human beings, one thing that they are unable to grasp with their human thinking. That is what concerns God Himself. With the concepts they have, human beings are unable to comprehend God. They are unable to comprehend His being. They will be given the opportunity to grasp this once they are in the world beyond, insofar as their spiritual intelligence is sufficient. After all, the abilities and works of all creatures are so varied, for a great diversity exists in heaven. This is just a side note. The way that was spoken of by Christ should be recognized in Christianity. Today, people complain about the half-heartedness of their fellow human beings. Question: why is this half-heartedness? If, from the very beginning, the spring had been left as pure as it was, then people of faith would have been able to refresh themselves at this clear and pure spring. But it was polluted. Just consider the Christian church of today. Why this lack of belief? Why this lack of belief among human beings? My answer is this. If one had explained to believers the way that was spoken of by Christ, if one had showed them the way, then things would be different today. But the way set forth by Christ is something completely different to what was presented to believers. In order to understand this way in its truth, one must try to feel and think along with Christ. Where did He come from? What task did He have to fulfill? For whom did He fight? He said He was the Son of God, and that His own will also have to return to where He was going. He was thus speaking about another world. He, the Son of God, born of God, said, I am the way. He said, I show you the way back to the Father. Follow me and you will enter the Father's house. But what kind of way was shown to Christians? What did it look like? This way cannot be compared to what Christ meant. Try going back in history. Try looking into the history of Christian doctrine. Try bringing to mind what was presented to Christianity from the first centuries onward. This doctrine that was proclaimed, which was declared in the name of God. This Christ, who sacrificed Himself, who was full of love, born of love, who was full of goodness, understanding, mercy, compassion. These are the riches of Christ. This is something that one cannot lay one's hands on, that cannot generate any profit. But certainly, it is admired spiritually, but not with earthly eyes. One cannot brag about these spiritual and invisible assets. But one can brag about visible earthly assets, as was done. Now, I am the way. These words of Christ can properly be understood by a believer who is aware of the task that was fulfilled by Christ. The mission that Christ received from the Father was to save humankind. He Himself said, I have not come into this world to govern it, to rule over it, but to save it. Thus, Christ spoke of a completely different way, a completely different world. And human beings, Christ repeatedly emphasized, "You are of this world." He often said this to the onlookers and the Pharisees, the teachers of the law. Let us read John chapter 8, verse 23. He said to them, "You are from below, I am from above. You are of this world, I am not of this world. For who rules this world? Surely, this has been explained to you many times before. If this world were personally led by Christ and His Holy Spirit world, the misfortune that humankind constantly has to suffer could not arise. Only when humankind recognizes the meaning of Christ's incarnation will it find an answer to the question of the origin of this misfortune. Those who do not know this accuse God. Why do you allow such injustice? They ask. It is human beings themselves who rule and dominate this world. They live far removed from God and from heaven. And to prove whether they know the difference between this earthly way and the way of which Christ spoke, that I am the way, because this way spoken of by Christ is completely a different way. Human beings must feel themselves into the life of Christ and into His mission. Then they will know the meaning of it, what Christ meant by, I am the way, the truth, and the life.